What's up, Cowboys Nation? Before we jump into today's breaking news, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're bringing you the latest updates on your Dallas Cowboys as the team continues to push for greatness, even in the face of tough challenges. Let's talk about the roster shakeups and some big trade rumors involving a potential superstar wide receiver. You won't want to miss this. First up, we've got some tough news. The Cowboys officially placed Demarcus Lawrence on injured reserve. Lawrence, one of the anchors of our defensive line, is dealing with a Lisfranc injury to his right foot. He's expected to miss at least 4 games before becoming eligible to return, and the recovery timeline could stretch anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. For those who remember, Lawrence dealt with a similar issue back in 2021. When he missed 10 games due to a foot fracture, but came back strong for the final 6 games of the regular season and the Cowboys' wild card playoff game. Let's hope for a similar comeback this time around. Losing a player like Lawrence is a huge blow to our defense, especially when you factor in that Micah Parsons is also nursing an injury. Parsons suffered an ankle sprain in the Week 4 victory over the Giants and might miss the next couple of games leading up to the bye week. The Cowboys haven't ruled him out for this Sunday's matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's definitely up in the air. With both of our defensive ends potentially out, the pressure will be on the rest of the defensive unit to step up. Dorrance Armstrong, Osa Odigizua, and Sam Williams will need to make their presence felt to help fill the void. Now, let's pivot to an exciting rumor that's starting to gain some serious traction. There's buzz around the league that the Las Vegas Raiders might be willing to part ways with superstar wide receiver Davante Adams. That's right, Cowboys fans. Adams could potentially be available via trade, and the Cowboys should seriously consider picking up the phone. Here's why. Brandon Cooks hasn't been producing at the level we expected when we brought him in. So far, Cooks has just 9 receptions for 91 yards on the season, and he only managed 1 catch for 16 yards in last week's win over the Giants. Dak Prescott is currently ranked 3rd in the NFL in passing yards, but there's clearly a disconnect between him and Cooks. Jalen Tolbert has flash potential, but we haven't seen enough to consider him a legitimate second option behind CeeDee Lamb. Enter Davante Adams. Adams is still one of the most elite wide receivers in the league. Despite a quarterback carousel in Las Vegas, Adams racked up over 1,100 receiving yards, 103 receptions, and 8 touchdowns last season. Adding him to the Cowboys' offense, opposite CeeDee Lamb, would give Prescott 2 unstoppable weapons on the outside, immediately transforming the offense into one of the most dangerous units in the league. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of a potential trade. According to reports, the Raiders would consider trading Adams for a second-round pick and additional compensation. While that's a steep price for a 32-year-old receiver, Adams' production speaks for itself. Now, you might be thinking about the financial side of things. Adams carries a significant contract. He's owed $74 million through 2025 to 2026. However, the Cowboys are in a good position salary cap-wise moving forward. The key detail here is that much of Adams' remaining salary is non-guaranteed, meaning that if the Cowboys wanted to, they could release him after this season without taking a massive hit on the cap. But there's more to it than just a short-term rental. If Dallas wanted to make this work long-term, they could restructure Adams' contract, spread out the cap hit over several years, and make the deal more financially manageable. This would allow the Cowboys to keep Adams and give Prescott another elite option for years to come. So, should the Cowboys pull the trigger on this deal? There are strong arguments on both sides. On one hand, the Cowboys have shown they're in win-now mode, and acquiring Adams would be a clear signal to the rest of the NFL that Dallas is going all in for a Super Bowl run this season. The defense has been hit with injuries, and the offense, while solid, needs another playmaker to truly take over games. On the other hand, giving up a second-round pick for a 32-year-old wide receiver might not seem like the most sensible move, especially when you consider the future of the team. But when you're this close to contending, you have to be willing to take risks. With Adams in the lineup, the Cowboys' offense could go from good to elite. He'd immediately draw attention away from CeeDee Lamb, open up the field for the running game, and give Dak Prescott a proven target in critical moments. And let's face it, the current state of the wide receiver room hasn't provided enough consistent support for Prescott, which is why we're even having this conversation. We've already talked about the other wide receivers the Cowboys could target. Names like Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, and DeAndre Hopkins have all been floated around as potential trade candidates. But Adams brings something different. He's not only an established number one receiver, but he also brings leadership, experience in high-pressure situations, and the kind of consistency that some of those other names lack. Plus, let's not forget the history between the Cowboys and Raiders when it comes to mid-season trades. Back in 2018, the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper, and that move jump-started the offense, helping the team secure a playoff spot. Could lightning strike twice? If history is any indicator, it's certainly possible. If the Cowboys were to pull off this trade, it could be the final piece of the puzzle that propels them to serious playoff contention. With injuries piling up on the defensive side, the Cowboys may need to rely more heavily on the offense to win games. A duo of CeeDee Lamb and Davante Adams would give Dallas the kind of firepower that few teams in the league can match. But it's not just about this season. Bringing in Adams could also have long-term implications for Prescott's career. We've seen what he's capable of when he has the right weapons around him, and pairing him with an elite wide receiver for the next few years could help elevate his game to a whole new level. Many fans have been wondering why we haven't seen much movement before the snap in our recent games. Well, Coach McCarthy addressed this during a recent press conference. He acknowledged the data suggesting that pre-snap movement can be beneficial, but he pointed out that there's a lot more to consider than just the numbers. "We've got a great analytics department," McCarthy said. "I've seen all the data, and we don't ignore the ones that make sense. But there's more to it than just stats. You have to look at the situation, especially on offense. Some of our formations have specific tendencies, and we've got to factor that in. One major challenge, according to McCarthy, has been the team's struggles in 2-minute drills. This has affected their ability to use pre-snap motion effectively." McCarthy emphasized that while the team collects and analyzes data carefully, they need to apply it based on the situation on the field. He praised the offensive staff, especially Brian Schottenheimer and John Park, Director of Football Strategic Operations, for working hard to make sure the data is accurate and applicable. "We use the data, but it's also about who we want to be as a team," McCarthy added. He mentioned the importance of playing complementary football, something the team excelled at in previous seasons. However, he acknowledged that they're still working to regain that balance this year. It's still unclear if we'll see more pre-snap motion going forward, but McCarthy's comments suggest that the team is carefully evaluating when and how to use it. It's not just about throwing in more motion. It's about finding the right balance between analytics and on-field execution. So, now it's time to turn it over to you, Cowboys Nation. Do you think the Cowboys should make a move for Davante Adams? Is he the missing piece that could take us all the way to the Super Bowl? Or do you think it's too big of a gamble, especially with his contract and age? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to see how you all feel about this potential blockbuster move. And before we wrap things up, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more exclusive Cowboys content. We're always here to bring you the latest news, updates, and analysis on America's team. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Cowboys!